officially put all of the palettes that I pulled for summer, put them away, and I am refreshing my eyeshadow palettes that I'm going to use this fall. If you're new to this series, every season I go through my eyeshadow palette collection and I pull palettes that I want to use when I don't know what to use when I'm doing my makeup, and I try and pick them based on this season. Of course, you can wear whatever colors you like, but my color palette for this fall, I pulled a lot of warm tone palettes. I have some plummy options that I want to get into, some dirty army green kind of shades. That's the general color palette when I was looking at these palettes, and I choose the palettes just based on ones that I simply want to use. I try and get a good mixture of newer palettes, older palettes, limited edition palettes, as well as more affordable palettes to high-end and luxury palettes, just to give you all a variety. The point is to inspire you to pull out these palettes if you have them and haven't used them in a while. And again, for me, to use them as well when I'm feeling uninspired with which eyeshadow palettes to use. So the order that these are in is basically just by the brand name, and I'll explain why I chose what. So the first palette that I chose that I want to use more this fall is from Chanel, because I paid a pretty penny for this. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm in love with this palette, but I think it is a great option for the fall, and since I never really reached for it, this is my opportunity to. So this is the Le Beige eyeshadow palette that came out last year in the Intense shade, and you'll see it is a dirty army green and gold taupey kind of palette. So this one is definitely one of the more wearable palettes that I have in today's video, and it just seems like an easy palette to grab for with those neutral tones leaning more green and cool. I actually do quite enjoy this palette. It just hasn't been one that I've reached for, and since I did pay so much for it, I definitely want to use it some more. And you can't tell me that these tones aren't perfect for fall. So if you have this palette and you haven't pulled it out recently, you also spent a pretty penny on this palette. Pull it out. It's a gorgeous formula. There was another one, I believe, with the name Tender that was more pinky. I didn't like the formula of that one as much, but this one is actually pretty good. I don't know that this is a palette that I would recommend somebody run out and buy, but it is a nice palette, and if you have it, definitely pull it out for the fall. It's one of the bougier options that I pulled for today's video, so I'm really excited to go ahead and use this. The next palette is a more affordable option that I pulled from Colourpop. This one is going to add more pops of color within the fall selection that I pulled together, and it adds more variety, pops of color. This is the Colourpop It's a Mood palette, so it does offer a wide selection of colors, and I just feel like this is going to be great for the fall when I want to kind of step outside of my comfort zone. Now, you can definitely see it's brighter than any of the other palettes that I will be talking about, but it still is more kind of muted down. It's not neon shades. So we have the warm tones, we have the army greens, we have the purpley tones, but I think these blues right here would be fun to pull in this fall for something different. And then, oh my gosh, all of these gorgeous lid shades just scream fall to me. So this was a palette that I honestly, when I first got it, it didn't scream fall to me. But when I was going through my collection, I felt as if this actually does lean more muted for fall tones, while also being a non-traditional fall palette. So it is the most unique of all of the palettes that I chose for today's video, and it's really affordable. There's lots of options. This is a great addition to any makeup collection, honestly, if you don't have these colors, because of its price point and the quality. So I definitely recommend this one, whether you want to purchase it or already have it. It's awesome. I didn't want to get two of the same brand, but this is a palette that I legitimately just want to use this fall. So I picked out the Colourpop and Mulan collaboration. Now, I don't know that you can get this anymore. It was a limited edition collection, but this is more on the neutral side of things, but it does have a lot of colors that lean warm that I think will make this very appropriate for the fall. I absolutely love Mulan, so this has a lot of nostalgia for me, but I love the quality that is in this palette, and this is a palette that I see myself reaching for days that I just want to have very neutral makeup, don't want to have to think about it, but I can lean the colors more warm for the fall. So this palette is great for all year round because of how neutral it is, but I definitely want to use the warm tones this fall in this palette. So I'm excited about this one. This is another one where if you rush to get this when it launched and then haven't reached for it a lot, now is a good time of year to pull it out. The next palette that I have is the one that is on my eyes right now. You can see it has purples in here, and this is the Lunar Beauty Moonspell Volume 2 palette. Now this palette I'm not bringing in for like the pumpkin-y vibes. I'm bringing in for the Halloween vibes that are going to be happening this fall. So I definitely wanted to have a Halloween palette, and oh my gosh, this palette is actually quite bright. I said that It's a Mood was brighter, but I think this one is actually more bright and colorful. It's got purples and a lot of warm tones, and I love that warm toned and purple kind of mix here. And you know what, you guys, I put this out because I think it is so pretty and I never ever use it. In fact, I do not recall using this palette any other time except for today. So I have used it because it was in my used palette drawers, but I have no recollection of it whatsoever. So I feel like I just tried a whole new palette today. Anyways, this palette is really fun, witchy, Halloween-y vibes. It's gonna fulfill my purple void that I need because I do love purple so much, and it is how I got today's look. So it is pretty darn stunning. The quality was decent. It was very easy to blend, and I didn't think it would be available to you guys, but it actually is. I looked up online. I like it because it has the fiery red components because I was looking for more warm tones this fall, which first of all, who am I? I've never loved warm tones, but I'm feeling it for the fall. But it has the purple tones, and it's really textured and great for evenings out, not that I leave my house, and I'm very happy with this. I'm excited that I used it today. I'm going to show you how I got this look. It's quite simple. So I started off with the shade Alex, which honestly is getting hard panned and was a little bit harder to build up. It was very, very sheer, but that's okay. It was just the transition shade because I went into Maggie next and I applied this in the outer corner, kind of blended it in a little bit more. This one did have the pigment that I was looking for, and it added a lot of purple to the look. And then to kind of mute it down, make it a little bit more fall-like because it was looking a little bright, I took Mel right here and I put that in the outer corner, and that kind of grazed it up. It looked really, really pretty. And then I used Queenie right here, which is even darker in the outer corner because, again, for me to get those smoky fall vibes, I wanted it to go deep. And then I used Mari or Mary right here in the outer corner of the eye. I kind of winged it out. You can kind of see what I did here. I wanted that to add some smoke. And on the lid, I used two shades. Luna right here, which is so gorgeous. It did have a lot of fallout, so make sure you do your face makeup after, but it is worth it because you can see how reflective my eyelids are. And then I finished off with Agatha right here in the inner corner of my eye, inner third more so I would say. And yeah, we got a really pretty reflective eyeshadow palette. I love these. This is a very Pat McGrath-esque effect. So this is not a new palette, but it is absolutely gorgeous. So if you're looking for a palette that is quite unique with these tones, I do recommend this one a lot, and it is officially going to be in my makeup drawer to use more this fall. It's going to be fun playing with this one. So I did have to put a Pat McGrath palette in here, and the palette that I chose is the Mothership Mega Celestial Odyssey palette. So this came out during the holiday season last year, and I think it was on the forefront of my mind because obviously the Christmas collection just launched from Pat McGrath as well this year, and this one was not my favorite, but I can't help but think that this is going to be a really phenomenal fall palette. There's some fun gold pops and blue pops in here, but overall, it's an overwhelmingly warm palette, I would say, and I'm just always looking for opportunities to mess with this palette because it wasn't one of my favorites. And that being said, it still has really, really great quality, but since I had the Mothership Mega in my head already, I thought that this would be a fun one to use this fall, and you still have those different pops, but generally speaking, the looks that you create are definitely going to lean more warm and fall toned, which is why I was excited to pull this out. So we're gonna give this guy some love this fall. I have a couple of the newer palettes next. So the first one was from Tarte, and I've been saying this Tarte Maneater After Dark palette is definitely going to be one of the hottest fall palettes. It is a beautiful palette. I've never seen Tarte launch a color story quite like this, nor quality quite like this. The shimmers in here are unbelievably reflective. The mattes are okay, they're nothing super duper special, but with the yellows, the reds, the oranges, the greens, the shimmer shades that we have in here, it just screams fall to me, and this is a palette that I don't feel ready to put away quite yet. You know, after I get my monthly rankings and my review and my speed reviews in, I tend to put my palettes back in their normal collection, which is a little bit further away. This is one that I wanted to leave in my immediate makeup setup so that I could continue using it for the fall. And if you're looking for a new hot fall palette to pick up, I would say this one is probably the one that I recommend the most if you think it's going to fit within your collection, because it is so different than what Tarte has launched before. You get so many options and the performance is really, really nice. I do have a whole review on this palette if you want to check it out. The next palette that I have is from Too Faced. I normally have this palette sticking around in the fall whenever they launch it, so I'm gonna put this in this video as well because it is a very good fall palette. It's the Pumpkin Spice Second Slice palette. You have to have this out for the fall. So this palette isn't anything to write home about, however, it still is a very nice palette, very good quality. I've actually found I've reached for this a lot because on an everyday basis, even though it doesn't look like it because of what you see I wear on camera, I am reaching for these tones all the time. So this has been a palette that I have reached for probably more than most of the new palettes that I've been reviewing lately because the colors are just so wearable. And the quality in here is a lot better than the most recent chocolate palette that came out, by the way. So I definitely recommend this one over that one. It has a very subtle pumpkin-y scent, which, by the way, I'm already obsessed with pumpkin this fall, so I totally recommend this one if you want to feel the fall vibes, the fall names. So this one is a little bit obvious as to why I'm putting it in the fall palette video because this is literally what it was made for, but I'm going to totally fall for it and put it in here because yes, I want to use this fall palette in the fall. I have a more affordable palette which is harder to get a hold of, but I saw you can get it at Target and I always think about this one for the fall and I wanted to put a more affordable option in. So this is from Makeup Revolution and this was in collaboration with Soph X. This is the Extra Spice palette and this quality is not amazing, but I think it's pretty good for Makeup Revolution. I typically don't love the Makeup Revolution eyeshadow formula, but this one is definitely workable and it's the color story in here in particular that calls me when it comes to fall. I mean, anything with like yellow, orange, red, gold, greens, that's a fall palette for me and this one has all of that. So it's just a really nice affordable option here. I love this raspberry shade right here and you can get some downright beautiful looks with this palette for the fall. I mean, that's the only reason that I pulled this out. Honestly, I don't use it that often, so I want to use it more. It's affordable and it has all of the tones for fall in here. It's like the perfect curation, so I pulled this one out. And if you have it, pull it out, tag Soph, show her you're still using this palette. Let's do it. Short explanation, but it was that simple to pick. This one is a fun one because you cannot buy it anymore, but it is so gorgeous. This is from Marc Jacobs, and I saw it and I was like, yes, let's bring out Marc Jacobs. Marc Jacobs, wanted to pick this out. If you don't know, Marc Jacobs is no longer a beauty brand, but I saw this Extravagance palette. I believe it launched a couple of years ago and I was like, I'm gonna use this. One, for the nostalgia, two, because I genuinely just very much love this palette, love the colors here. So we have the green, the gold, and the champagne. So that's all I need for this to feel very fall appropriate to me. So I'm really excited to dig into this. Very, very sad that you can't pick this up anymore. You know, when Marc Jacobs was out, it was kind of a boring brand to me in some ways, but I do miss them. I definitely do, especially these thin little palettes, so I'm excited to go ahead and use this fall. So sorry if you see me wearing this. My look is beautiful because you can't pick it up anymore, but if you do have this, maybe not even this palette in particular, but if you have any Marc Jacobs palettes laying around, pull them out. Leave them on your makeup desk. Use them. Okay, this one, this is the 10th one, but I cheated, by the way. And I almost didn't put this one in, but I just feel the need to leave this out. I always want to pull one of my Morphe palettes that I buy on always just like whims. and this is the 3502. So this is a really old school palette that was very popular back in the day, and it really is just a collection of just so many warm tone colors, mattes, shimmers. And you know what, if I'm ever unsure, I want to grab for this palette. If I ever want to reach in my individual glittery eyeshadow drawer, I want to use these colors as bases. I don't use my Morphe eyeshadows enough. I don't think they're a bad formula. I think they're pretty good, and I still really just love the general look of these. I love how monochromatic they are. I love how many options you get. They're still a really great affordable option if you don't want to spend a ton of money on eyeshadows. So I'm pulling this one out, and I'm honestly very excited to use this. Yes, there are 10 shades of the same color of brown in here, but that's okay. I like brown. I use a lot of brown. So I'm actually kind of excited to use this. It brings back a lot of memories for me back in college when Morphe palettes were so popular. So I'm going to use this because it's a really great fall palette. And if you have this, use it. Pull it out, girl. So here's my bonus palette, number 11, because I couldn't knock it off the list. It's from Goss. This is the Tourmaline palette. This came out last year, and it's just a really nice, beautiful, subtle, wearable, warm-toned palette. You can actually get quite cool-toned looks with this as well. It's not my favorite palette from Goss, but I can definitely make it work. It's still a good quality palette. So I do plan on using this on days where I don't want to think too much about how to create a look. I want a smaller sized palette so that it's really easy and thoughtless and quick, and just with the Goss formula, it's just a nice one to kind of throw on a couple of colors and go on your way. So this one I think is going to be really nice. This formula right here reminds me a lot of Tom Ford and how it looks on the eyelid. So I wanted something that was kind of subtle, kind of boring for my subtly boring days. I thought this one would be perfect. So if you bought this last year, definitely pull it out. And there we have it, you guys. Those are all of the eyeshadow palettes that I plan on using this fall. If you have them, pull them out, or go through your collection right now, pull out some palettes, leave them at your makeup station, and I promise you, you will get use out of them based on easy reach. And these guys are going to be sitting in my seasonal palette drawer, so I'm excited to see what other looks I can get with these guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and had fun. If there's any palettes that you think of fall whenever you see it, comment down below. Let's inspire each other with other palettes, because if you guys name a good palette that I didn't think of for this video, I might add it to my drawer. So anyways, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys, have a good one.